Hello, I'm Tiago Mota Saraiva from Lisbon. I'm an architect. Today we have been talking mostly about how public facilities can be public and common. So how can it be open to neighbors, and how can this process of architecture can transform, with not gentrified, but with engaging all the people that lives around and works around.
Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica Podcast partner, AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Today we have a new episode from Pontevedra and we have a new storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Tiago, to Urbanistica Podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. It's a pleasure to be here.
How are you, Tiago?
I'm fine. Are you all of this in Pontevedra?
Yeah. Are you freezing? It's very cold now.
Yeah, it's a little bit more cold than in Lisbon now.
Yeah. So how is your placemaking week?
Well, it's still being on. It's really a thing that I do love to share the thoughts and the lectures and the discussions that we are in, but also mostly all the talks that we have informally. So
yeah,
that's a place for being.
And thanks for giving your time to record the Urbanistica. I'm really happy. So we start with you. You're our storyteller. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners? And tell us about your passion.
Well, my background is architecture, so I'm an architect, but I also work a lot on urbanism, and here I'm considered a city maker and a place maker. And I'm also a teacher, which is something that I like a lot to do.
Teacher at an university or a school?
At university, I have a school of architecture.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like what course you?
Oh, it's architecture. So it's laboratory of architecture. It's first year of the School of Architecture of Lisbon. So it's really nice to have, like, it's their first.
Like young and fresh,
17,
people.
18 years old.
Wow.
So it's really nice.
Do they have like a completely new ideas or no? Like almost.
No, it's really funny. Well, the School of Architecture in Lisbon, you have like the better grades from all over the country. So you have we have a system with from 0 until 20.
Mm-hmm.
So the worst grade it's 17.5 now in the course that I'm teaching. Cool. So they are very good students.
Yeah.
But they are arriving with a lot of different backgrounds, which is really nice.
Which is good.
Which is very nice.
Yeah, it's good too for the
And socially, it's also very, very diverse.
Yeah. So do you see them like caring a lot about climate or digital, like, or how? What is like the pattern or the trend you see in how they think?
Well, this is in fact in my first class, I always ask who has participated on climate demonstrations and this is an issue that I think it's always, I always tell them that maybe it was not really the issue of my generation so focused on.
Yeah.
And right now it will be the issue of their generation dealing with architecture. So, or whatever they want to be, because they are just learning a little bit about architecture. They can be whatever they like.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the challenge for their generation, and the architecture should respond to this challenge somehow.
Sure.
As how you had challenges in your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're focused a lot on public buildings and how to give them a life one more time. So can you tell us about like the background? what is this field about?
Well, mostly all over the cities in Portugal, there are huge problems on housing. So there are process of gentrification in the major cities, mostly in Lisbon, but also all around the country. But what we say is that a public building should not be closed. It's if it's ruined, it's also provoking gentrification around it. So it's
What is a public building?
what is a public building? Well, sometimes it's like I'm remembering a whole palace and military area that is being changed to be another thing. And during this period, we always say that okay, we have to use it still.
Okay.
So that on one hand, it's a public facility. So it can, in a city, for example, in Lisbon, where you have so many spaces needed, you have to open that doors. And also, if you want to have participation processes, sure that people have to engage with the building. Sure, people have to feel that they are part of it.
Yeah.
You cannot leave a building like being ruined in the city center, for example, because then from one day to another, it will appear like a politician or someone that it's more does fancy to sell things and to get profit of it. So that's the privatization of the buildings. It's something that will occur, and it will occur easily afterwards, after also losing its value.
Yeah.
So what we do say is that when one building, even though it's moving to another, it's becoming affordable housing or something, that we have to use it
instead of demolishing it. Maybe there's a cultural value in it as well.
Yes.
Like
yes.
when you mention like a palace, you cannot just like.
Yeah, we cannot. Well, sometimes it's the cultural value. Sometimes it's also the social value that produces. So the feeling of people that the public buildings, it's also they can program things for there.
Yeah,
they can use the spaces if they want to have a meeting with neighbors, for example. So that's the kind of empowerment that we try to work on.
Yeah. And Tiago, can you tell us about the project you work with, and please in details, because I love like to explore the process and how you think and how you work.
Okay. Then, well, I would start by saying that the one thing that we are closing not the detailed project, but the definitive design of it. It's Palácio Marquês de Abrantes. It's a palace in Marvila area, which is a little bit a gentrified area, but it's a municipal building that from 2017 we started there with a small group of people moving there, and we opened the door and we started a discussion on what should it be.
Okay.
In the near future. In fact, this building was supposed to be sold by the municipality. And we managed, with this 2017 process, we managed to have the agreement of the mayor saying that we are not selling it.
Okay.
We will listen what the population will go to say.
Okay.
On that time, because the discussion was clearly to produce housing. It had been already housing before, so it was a palace, but it was also during the 19th century. It has a lot of people living there, really poor, in a poor condition. So it has like 200 people living there.
Wow. Like when I hear a palace, I imagine, like the palace is like in Paris and very beautiful inside. But I guess this is not the case, no?
No, well, it was
like, how do you fit 200 people, or how was 200 people living?
Well, it was like, it was built in the 17th century.
Yeah.
So, but for Marquês of Abrantes, but during it was a school in the beginning of the 19th century. It's a school for teachers, and then it was started to occupy and municipalized. So it's become a housing for in really poor conditions. The houses are very small. They were divided in pallets, so it was like something like that. The funny thing was that because this area of Marvila, it's an area of migration of people that come from the interior of the country to get jobs, and they stood there. There were huge slums around the palace also, until the 70s, more or less.
Yeah.
So what we did, what was really funny about the discussion was that for that we were in 2017, so that was the refugees crisis on the media. And the thing was that people decided this is a place for hosting, also refugees, also people from around that needs a place. So this was really the program of it, and it was enhanced by UN Habitat, it was enhanced by UCLG, saying that it's a rare thing that from one day to another you have a bottom up process. I have someone wants to produce housing for refugees from the neighborhood. So normally neighborhoods are against this kind of facilities, but in this case it was proposed by the bottom up process.
Yeah, so like it was the UN Habitat and announced that it's going to be a place for.
Well, they visit us. The people from UN Habitat, the people from UCLG also considered it as a case study to follow up.
Yeah.
But with the bureaucracy, and it stood a lot of time, and in the end, we just got in to develop a little bit more the project in 2021. So during COVID time already, which was really a difficult thing. How to do a participatory process in an area that are mostly old people participating. How to do it, which was it has a lot of funny things. So we readapt the way.
How did you think?
Well, we turned it less collective and more individualized, the processes. But also, from April of this year, we started also to start regular meetings in each 15 days, so that we can follow up. And right now we have our open door so that people can see what we produced in the last year for the palace.
Nice.
So it's just like so they will see the models, they will see all the drawings,
see the progress.
Yes, and see the progress and what we are presenting to the municipality to see if it's going on or not.
So like the participation started when it was COVID.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, it started in 2017, but it restarted now in 2022 during COVID. So people were really afraid of doing things a lot together. Yeah. We have a courtyard that we really never used it. We tried to get out of the palace to the public space mostly. But it was a tricky situation. It's always, we couldn't do Zooms in to that kind of population of inhabitants. So there was not, we have a lot of people that don't have an email. So
I can imagine. Yeah.
So, but it was, the main thing was that we moved everyone of the office to there.
Okay.
So everyone talks with everyone. So it's something also very informal that started to be, everyone knows us with our name and not architects.
So you build like a relation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what kind of method you use to collect people's opinion?
Well, for example, right now we are having a kind of a vote on the color of the building. We have 3 proposals.
Yeah.
And that's something that we are still not deciding it, because this is a thing for the definitive design.
Yeah.
But we will leave on our report the results of it.
Like what people likes to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you open a kind of, you give so much space to the people, like even the color. This is the first time I hear that people can, give opinion about the colors of the facade.
Yeah, of course. I do feel that the most important thing is that people feel that this building, it's not from someone that's an abstract thing that is the municipality, but it's theirs. And when they see the project, they realize, oh, it's not the thing I propose, everything that I propose, but I can see here a point of water that I propose, or something that makes them feel that
part of it.
It's part.
But then, like, what is the role of architect if you're like working as just collecting people's opinion and delivering further? So, do you still have the architecture role, responsibility? Do you understand me?
Yes.
If like your studies is based on people, then what is your role?
Well, architect,
if you understand.
Yes, of course. Well, an architect synthesizes what does the synthesis of everything also. So, for example, when you do a conventional house for a couple with a kid, you also have to hear them. You also have first time, and you also have things that you choose and some things that you accept and not accept, which is quite the same in this situation. So you have a lot of opinions. You discuss. You are against it, or you're. In fact, inside of our team also happens that.
Yeah.
So it's always a matter of negotiation,
Mm.
and I really don't. I'm not a fan of the idea of the architect that does design something, create something, and then
Le Corbusier.
like yes, like it's a sketch, and then well, that's it. That will solve all the problems.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. So I'm always. I think more and more architecture it's a matter of a collective work.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel that authorship it's a little bit tricky in architecture, but more and more it's a collective work also with different disciplines, with structural designs, with the landscape designers, with electricity, and well, everything makes a whole. The thing is that architects coordinate, so they get all the info that also from the inhabitants, in neighbors and stuff, so that when you have a lot of information that you try to synthesize in a process.
Interesting, the way you put it together. It's like a recipe,
Yes.
different, what do you call it? Components or products, different products. Now you have different opinion, like the technical, the municipality, the people, and then as an architect, you put this together to something.
One thing really important for us when you do participation is that sometimes you have people that does a lot of participation, and in the end, okay, it's not good, but it was the decision of them.
Yeah,
and that we don't do it. So we want to produce the best quality of architecture.
Yeah.
With everyone getting inside. So we want to. That's something that we always want to stress, is that we want to do we want the best architecture for this kind of neighborhoods, this kind of population, this kind of inhabitants.
So back to the palace. So who's living now, and what is the status of the project?
Right now, it's just us there, and one association that it's like 100 years ago moved there. So it's a very popular association that works there in
like you have your office there?
Yes. We moved the office there. We are living in October now, but because we are finishing the work that we have done, but in a very nomadic now situation. But yes, it's like that.
Yeah. So what is the new? You call it a new program or the new plan for the palace?
Well,
what are you introducing now?
Mostly getting better conditions for these associations that are there. That's a cultural association, but also with sports. Mm-hmm. Then a huge part of the palace will be housing, but a different housing that it's a hosting place where people mostly will live not more than 2 years.
Okay.
So it might be for refugees. Might be for homeless. It might also be for people that are around, and with a management model that gets together municipality, the district, and also local associations, so that we can get all of this together on the same plot.
Yeah. So who's financing it?
Mostly municipality
paying for. Yeah. And who's managing the let's say housing condition, the service, administration? That
we propose to create an association, maybe coming
just
from outside,
for the palace.
Just for the palace.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is interesting. And why, like, or before the why, like how does the housing look like? Like how many rooms, or like what are the units?
Well, it will be 18 apartments, even though there are some that are, we'll have a lot of beds. If the thing we always talked about it is that this palace already, we couldn't get a program from outside saying that we have to have
so many units,
25 flats or something, because we want to do a very low budget intervention. So in the sense that we have already the structure of the palace, we have to demolish something, because it had a lot of interventions during the centuries. But we want to use the core of the palace. So it's also the thing we are providing. It's also what the palace is giving us,
Yeah, like the main structure.
Yes, the main structure. So we have 18 flats, but we have around 70, 90 beds to host people. we have a common a communitarian kitchen in the ground floor.
Mhm.
Each flat has a small kitchen.
Yeah.
You have a more
A common kitchen.
Yeah. In the background, in the ground floor, and then we also have a space for kids to play for free time. Mostly because we think that will be like the hub that will organize the connection in between the neighborhood and so the children in the neighborhood and the children that were living in the palace.
It's like the center of the connection center.
Yes, it's a connection center.
Yeah. And do you have like tenant already, people signing in to get in?
Well, when it's constructed, when it's built, if it's approved by the municipality, it's I think it should be the municipality to decide who
taking care of this.
Yes.
So I guess like you as an architect, you're in love with this process of transforming a palace, like reading the history, what was here, what feelings you get.
Well, it's great because it's in an area that it's not very well. It's in the oriental part of the city of Lisbon. It's a working class area with a lot of industries and also with a lot of secrets. As you have a lot of different things that you don't know about the palace still, because it was not much studied still. Yeah. So, for example, one of the things that when we start in 2017, we'll do some works just to open a small office there. We start to take off the pavement, and we found another pavement 1.20 meters lower than the building, which is not the palace. It's something that was constructed before, and the palace went above it. So that's a thing that we don't know what it is. We do think that maybe it's a chapel on that area, but still not really sure about it.
And how is the condition of the material? Are they still up to date, certificated? Like we have all this certification and standards. So how do you do that, or how is it now?
Well, we are doing a basic. We do a lot of building renewal. So we are doing the basic that. We are doing a system of something that I don't know how is it translated in English, which is gunitage, that will give some more strength to the walls. Yeah. So that's the thing that it's really into our way of designing also.
Okay, like the solid and like isolation and all this. Yes. So it's like up to date according to the standards today.
Yes. Yeah. And that the walls may be certified.
Exactly. Yeah. What are like the challenges that you're faced in this project?
That's a tough question because, I think mostly bureaucracy. From one day to another, everyone had an opinion on what should be the palace.
Like from the city
level, yeah. I think the bureaucracy was and because in this participatory thing, I'm always saying that the way that you destroy it, saying yes. In fact, everyone always said yes to us, and nothing happened.
Okay.
If you say no, there is a process of resistance, and that everyone gets together and go against it,
Yeah.
And I do feel that you say yes, but then 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and nothing happens. Yeah. That's what destroys you. Mm-hmm. So that's what really so the lack of answers with productive consequences.
Yeah, like
that's the main.
Should we do that or wait or what is it now?
Yeah, let's do a calendar.
Exactly, like let's plan.
Let's do a schedule.
But this affects you as a architect office, right? Because you plan like, okay, we're gonna work like, let's say 500 hours, but then there's no hours.
Yeah. Well,
how do you deal with that?
It's incredible. From 2017 to 2020, we had dozens of meetings. We had produced dozens of
documents, yeah.
And then it didn't happen anything. If you just that's totally unproductive.
Yeah,
thing. That's in fact that's the main issue. If the things were running well, we could have like a great example of hosting people in Lisbon that everyone around Europe will be talking about. True. But we don't have it because we had this bureaucracy.
Yeah. Do you Is it like from economy point of view?
Mm.
Which one is cheaper? Is to demolish the palace and build something new, or like the project that you're doing now?
No, for sure, keeping the palace on, for sure.
From only economy, not cultural.
No, for economical reasons, yes, for sure.
Okay.
So the materials are high prices. So we already have good. For example, one thing that we felt during our stay there is that thermically, that walls that are, well, I think 90 centimeters wide are very good.
90 or
90.
Wow.
Yeah, are very good at performing in thermical. So in the hot,
so like thick walls.
Yes, thick walls.
Yeah.
So that's a very good thing that we can use it a lot. So, and you have, we have a tank also, water tank. So there are lots of things that has to be, of course, if you want to build from that on a hotel with the standards of high class, you will destroy all the building. Yeah. That you will, because you have to have open spaces. You have to have
of course,
totally different.
Yeah. How much? Because like when you redo the reprogram or the palace, you need like also like new infrastructure, like electricity, internet, water, and so on. How is it?
Well, that's in fact we created like a belt, not a belt. It's called, well. There is a layer of electricity that gets to electricity, water, and everything that gets together that connects all the building. From the interior of the courtyard, more or less.
Okay, so you solve this.
Yeah.
Is it possible to digitalize these kind of buildings, like with screens, cameras, sensors?
That's one thing that we did. We did a survey, because we wanted also to do a kind of a survey which identify all the spaces that stay in the future, that we know that it was like that. So we did a kind of you can do in 1 month, it will be online. You can do a visit to the palace with 360 degree view. So it will be available for everyone. Because one of the things it's also important is that we are doing a public work. So we want to show everything. It's always about opening the doors to the public.
Yeah, you're not afraid that you're gonna get comments from the public. Oh, what are you doing? No, this is stupid. No, this is not good.
We always get. That's opinions,
Yeah,
that's not a problem.
Because like at least I can talk about some project in Sweden. Sometimes we are afraid to show this to public because we don't want to get opinions, and not all of project. So people don't think that Sweden is not open and so on. No, but like some of clients choose to say, no, I don't want to show it to public. I'm gonna get feedback, and then I don't want to work on the feedback. So I want to see what is the value you get from showing this to public.
Well, we mostly work. We started the work at Liamob, started the work in 2005. We mostly work for public
buildings or
entities,
clients,
public clients. So we are much more, of course, we have some private clients, mostly our friends, that ask us to do flat renewal or something. But in fact, I think when we do public works, we have this moral issue of being transparent on what we do, and make it public and understandable also to the public opinion. Even though that gets criticism, which is normal to have, and sometimes it also helps us to improve our projects and to develop it. So that's the bad critics. It's not the things that we are much more afraid of. It's more of a bureaucracy. Has a lot more impact on our practice.
I think the the feedback make the project stronger. If you're not the architect that loves their own sketches and not listening, I think it's very important to make it better. Maybe because you're into this project and you're so much focused. So you're in a kind of a bubble, and sometimes you're missing something, or you're missing an inspiration. So you don't know, maybe a comment from a senior or from a child that open a new door into the project.
I always try when we start a project to go to the place and just listen to people without thinking. In Portugal, at least, and I think there are in other countries, you have this idea of the architect. When we see something, when we see a flat, when we see a building, you're always already thinking on something to do.
Yeah.
And I always have this question: oh, you're an architect, for sure. You're imagining.
Yeah, like you're having another lens.
You're creative, so for sure you're. And I always say, no. I'm not. I'm just here. In the first days, I'm just here to listen. And I don't want to have any idea.
Opinion or give.
I call it my process of idiot architect. I always arrive, not idiot because it produces ideas,
mean
but like the stupid architect saying
idiot, yeah.
I'm arriving there and saying, no, I have no idea what to do. I just want to listen to you.
Oh, please help me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to our listeners, what do you think are the key elements when we work with such kind of project, like transforming a building? What are the key elements that we should focus on or shouldn't forget to make a project successful?
Well, first of all, reinforcing the idea of opening the door and making people feel comfortable to go there and to talk with you at your level. So you're not the architect that are coming from the municipality. You're not the architect that it's well-known architect that it's
so there is no hierarchy.
Yeah, try to get lower the hierarchy.
Street level.
Still, you're the architect. You're not the inhabitant. You're not a neighbor.
Okay.
So that's you have to do it. Even though we move there, we always say, okay, we are here to do our role of architecture. Yeah. So we are your architect.
Exactly.
But we are
not your manager or something.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the thing. So open the door, making people feel comfortable to come in.
Yeah.
Then always try to keep. Well, sometimes you're doing more than architect should do. Sometimes you're helping someone that had the unemployment papers to fill. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, and people don't know how to do it, and sometimes you do it. But always try to come to your practice because it's where you are mostly useful for the people around. So try to see how the instruments that you're taught or the tools you have could be useful in these conditions. So that's another thing. So you're always balancing. We are always talking about both in Atelier Mob and working with the 99%. We are always talking about trying to stretch the limits of architecture, but also trying to use our tool
exactly
to in other ways. That's what we really like to do it, and always feel we always feel a lot engaged on what we do. It's also a personal thing, engagement, which is really nice. For example, right now we are moving from the palace to an old military area in the city center now of Lisbon. It's a barrack with 800 meters long, with a lot of buildings, and we will be working with a 99%. Will be one of the core organizations that will lead the appropriation of different associations that will be there.
Yeah.
Also artists, also planners, also research project of journalists that are trying to research. That's a thing that from yesterday, so that they are trying to research the stories that were not well told of people that are in prison. And trying to they prove that they were like 10 years in prison. They were not the murders of the thing. So this kind of things, it's really having a place for people to stay, to also to change some ideas, and also to get everyone together also.
Yeah.
And making people feel that a public space, it's public, it's theirs.
It's theirs, yeah. And when it comes to design and material, what should we think about when we work with such projects?
That's another tough question, because normally we always have to look a lot. For example, this experience in Pontevedra, where I see a lot of different projects, always gives me ideas on how to lead with this. For us, for example, our networks of work, now we are working a lot on cooperativism, for example, in a national level of national government level.
Yeah.
But for example, for me, it's quite important to visit and stay in Barcelona with friends from La Colle, to see La Borda, how's it going on, and also hear what were the big problems, or what do the mistakes they did they want to correct. And I'm also doing that, always
in your
that.
city. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saying that, for example, when I present the palace, I always say also, where do we fail? We failed here this time.
Yeah.
We didn't understand. We try to correct this.
Yeah.
So for us, it's quite important also to share opinions with our colleagues, which is not only architects, but not as the stars that we are doing the palace and that we are doing something, but also saying that, okay, we are sharing this, but we did, in this case, we did this something that it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And this is really a thing that, so that we can improve with all the networks, all the knowledge that we produce.
Yeah. But Tiago, not all of architects sharing their mistakes, it's because they don't want to show that they're maybe not good architects. So that's why, what you hear only the good things that happen. But I guess in the design process, many things don't turn to good. So, what do you say to people who don't share and just hiding the mistakes?
Well, architects, when, for example, doctors, when they bury their mistakes, no, in a certain way. Architects just get him to life, so that's a totally different way. I think we are part of a generation. I studied with the star system idea of the Guggenheim effect. So the building designed by the creative's mind that will produce this fantastic architecture. And I do think I'm part of a movement of a generation that it's totally changing the idea. Well, it's not totally changed, it's still on the star architecture, but we, with our networks in all over the world, are trying to get a little bit, the things get it a little bit different. And that happened already in architecture. The thing is that that happened often cyclically, this kind of process. But mostly, I think with the things of the climate action, with the poverty, with everything we are much more needed. Architects are much more needed on this kind of work than to do the big museum or to do the big infrastructure. Not the big infrastructure still. It's needed, but that's not the most relevant now, I think, nowadays. And I think that this my generation, mostly the youngest generations, will be much more focused on that. I feel it's much more focused on doing totally different.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most in the Palace project?
Well, I do enjoy most when I get into the courtyard of the palace now. And for example, on Tuesdays, we also get an association that a cooperative that gives fruit and vegetables. Well, not gives, but at a very low price. It gives a pack of foods and vegetables to 300 people there on the courtyard. When I see that the courtyard is full of people and that
active
on that, for example, on Tuesday you can have 400 people coming to the palace because they distribute 300. So it's amazing. It's an amazing movement. So you see that the palace is open to public. Yeah. People feel that it's part of their life.
It's alive again.
Yes.
Interesting.
And it's still not renovated, so it's still falling down a lot. So we are also, another thing that is quite important is that while we're staying there, we are also keeping the palace in a way that if it comes in water from the rain, we go and try to fix it. We call the municipality saying, look out because it's falling something. The door is open. So we are also making the probably if it was closed, they will have to put security on and they will have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we are doing that.
You're activating it.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. So now we are in the last section of this episode. and it's about you giving messages.
Mm.
So I want to hear from you, like, what is the message you give to Pontevedra? To urban practitioners working on the development of the city. What should they keep in mind?
Well, I think placemaking is still a term, an idea that is in dispute. It's not closed. You can see it from here that are totally different projects or things running that we under this umbrella of placemaking. So we can feel it that, for example, the women in Iran now that are demonstrating are part of placemaking also. You know, so that there is this incredible goal on trying to get to the grassroots of our system, of our populations, so that we can overcome all the problems of democracy.
Yeah.
So I have been talking with a lot of friends from Italy, for example, in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
From Sweden, and that's a thing which are not coming good news. And the thing that I think we can play a role on this, getting people together with not preconcepts on each other. Yeah. So that's what I'm really interested on placemaking, on how to grab a chair and put it on a square here and start to talk with people that, for example, voted for far right.
Yeah.
And trying to understand why. Because the question sometimes, it's something that it's fair. Sometimes it's saying, I have no job, I have no food to eat. Yeah. And then you say, okay, that's a problem that we have to start to solve on.
Yeah. Instead of attacking them and blaming. Yeah.
The big issue is that the far right gives you an enemy, an easy enemy, So it creates a narrative.
Yeah.
And I think placemaking, it's all about also creating a narrative of empowering people.
Yeah.
To reclaim the streets.
Yeah. And the last question is about you giving 3 takeaway messages to all our listeners working with city development, like architects, urban planners, traffic engineers.
Well, first of all, considering Pontevedra, for me, it's quite impressive to see how many people are on the street. So this idea of a walkable city, it's something that, I cannot imagine the future without being like this. That's the first thing. So we have to improve our cities. We have to keep on doing this kind of works, because here you see everyone, even people, a lot of people in wheelchairs. I was quite impressed on so many people. So there is something that it's like a clear lesson from Pontevedra that you get from Pontevedra. Well, on the second hand, you also have, that's also the thing that comes from one of the things that I was talking yesterday, because we produced a policy brief for the Council of Europe for ICC intercultural cities, which is on, because it's a thing that we all know, that there are lots of processes on municipalities that do greening cities operations in public spaces, in streets, and that makes that, for example, the interculturality, it's lost. And how to design, and that's the policy brief that we produced, how to design from the municipality something that can balance these two developments and making it together. There are lots of different and really nice case studies to understand, and mostly what we are also focused on is not only European examples. You have, for example, Armenia, which is in Colombia, city in Colombia, in a very big area of forest, a green area that created a spine of biodiversity in the city center, so that people can use it in an intercultural, intersocial way.
Yeah.
So that's I'd say that's the second question. And then the third one, I'd say the thing that Minouche referred to in the first day, that is trying to start to think on this idea of green and blue, saying green is what we know and environmental, even though sometimes it's a word that is voided by the so much use. But blue, the idea of the water. So how do we make that our resources arrive to everyone? So that's a question, because more and more, also with the refugees crisis, I hate the idea of refugees crisis, because we are living on it for a long time, and we will be living on also because of the climate change conditions, and wars. So that's the thing that I would like to start to work on, this green-blue idea of the city.
Very interesting. And again, I'm happy to talk to you. And
thank you very much.
The last question is going to be you asking it to us. So what is your question to me and to the listener?
Well, that's one thing that I think that maybe you think a lot. It's what do you think it's your role as the podcast, with this podcast, your role in improving cities' lives? So that's how do you feel this is your role in improving? Because you're probably thinking on that.
Of course, of course. So this is for me. And a question to the listeners.
A question to the listeners. Well, that's maybe everyone. Well, I do presume that everyone has their life, their working life, and how many hours in a week do you have vacant to get in this kind of processes? So how many outside of your family, of your work on, of your daily life, how many hours can you give a common goal, to this common goal?
Okay. This one is tough. Okay. Question. Tiago, thank you so much, and we keep in touch, and I'm happy to hear more stories from you in the future.
Very much for the invitation, Mustafa, and keep on this, because it's really great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.